Arc Raiders had its newest live update today, one that actually has patch notes and changes associated with it, not just a store refresh and a quick little note in the air quote patch notes they put out for that. And while in terms of content there's not much added here with this week, foundationally it was more than expected with implications on how you can actually play the game. Today we're running down what you need to know, so drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe for more Arc Raiders and other FPS content, and we're back in the swing of the live streams, may even be live shortly after this video going up. Love to chat if you'd like to hang out. Finally, check out my friends over at Advanced GG, where code Espresso can get 10% off your entire order, but more on that a little later. For now, let's get into it. So first things first, today's update was our latest live update. For those that don't recall, we're on a 3-week cadence now here of these types of updates, things that have changes that actually matter. The last 2 weeks have just been store refreshes, and pending no real colossal change, the next 2 weeks will also be store updates into another live update 3 more weeks from now, looking at the 18th of August. Now today's update did not bring along with it much content per se. In fact, it actually concluded the Forgotten Relics event and Converging Paths project, so while we have a new shop edition in content, if you want to call it that, we're still a net negative on what we have today. Now, there is an interesting hint as to what's on the horizon of something called phantom targets, but we'll get to that in a second. What did change though, and what was rather impactful to the game's experience, were new updates like firstly, the newest matchmaking changes to how defensive PvP is now weighted. Back in May, the first of the new matchmaking adjustments were mentioned, where they stated defending yourself is no longer treated the same as starting a fight. Previously, your playstyle didn't capture whether you started a PvP encounter or merely defended yourself. This meant cautious raiders could be treated as more PvP focused than they actually are. Now, the two are treated differently. And that number 2, low activity rounds carry less weight in your playstyle history. Rounds with little topside interaction, like spawning and surrendering, used to impact players' estimated playstyles more than expected. Reducing their weight helps the system reflect how you genuinely play when you're out there making choices. So both of these were rather impactful at the time. It allowed you to take a bit more into consideration, like fighting rats or defending yourself, and not necessarily just losing your stuff out of fear of adjusting your own personal matchmaking target because of ABM, or aggression-based matchmaking. Because while there's no true PvE mode, it started around then that it could be a sort of choose-your-own-adventure type of gameplay. The more passive you'd play, the more passive players you'd likely be matched with, though never guaranteed. So defending yourself could have left a mark, but not nearly as much as if you initiated the fight in your ABMM. Then the secondary part of that low activity rounds, well, that was just basically to stop people from easily being able to drop down into the more peaceful lobbies and smurfing essentially, that it wouldn't take just about 10 minutes to go from ultra PvP lobbies to then slaughtering entire lobbies who maybe didn't want that type of playstyle. Now that system in place has been updated a little bit today, where they said, since our notes on the matchmaking system, one change that stood out with the community, defending yourself is no longer treated the same as starting a fight. It meant self-defense still counted toward your playstyle estimate, but with much more less weight than starting a fight. Your feedback was positive, and many of you have asked us to take it a step further. The most common follow-up request we've seen is to remove the impact of defensive PvP entirely, going from reduced weight to none at all. Starting now, we're testing exactly that. During the test, only the fights you choose to start will influence your playstyle estimate, and defending yourself won't affect it at all. This includes knocking out enemies who attacked you first. So what counts as starting a fight and what counts as defending yourself? Here's how the system reads an encounter. Who's defending? If the other squad damages, downs, or knocks out any of your squad mates first, your whole squad counts as defending. The squad that strikes first is the one that started the fight. How it's weighed, the more serious the encounter, the more it counts. A drawn-out firefight with more damage dealt and raiders downed weighs heavily, while a stray accidental hit or brief encounter where other squad flees after minimal damage still counts as starting a fight but weighs far less. And third partying, jumping into a fight between 2 other squads that already are underway, counts as starting a fight too. Over the coming weeks, we'll monitor our matchmaking metrics, watch how PvP develops topside, and gather your feedback. So that is a big change. Zero impact on your ABMM at that point to fight back against a rat or someone if in place as intended. Now, there's a couple of things to note here that Number 1, it seems like you're going to see a lot more of this perhaps in duos or trios, though it does not necessarily take it out of the equation in solos, but it's going to have further reaching implications in duos and trios, because if somebody ends up fighting in that squad, it's going to affect the other ones also in there. But again, in the sense of solo perspective, it should just be a nice way to protect yourself against somebody that may want to rat you or may try to grief you in some capacity. The other thing to note is that right now, this is temporary. I would be very surprised if this does go back to the case of, okay, we're still going to weigh defending yourself, but it is something that right now it's being tested. It's not necessarily completely implemented just yet, but it is something that they're testing here for at least the next couple of weeks. So while there's still no true PvE mode at the moment, this is as much a push as any to make sure that it essentially is a choose your own adventure within Arc Raiders. Now that said, the matchmaking separation that we saw recently introduced is still in play. Those changes of solos, duos, and trios now being weighed entirely independently is still in place. So again, if you do like to PvP or maybe even just get a little more aggressive in duos or trios, but you like to chill out in solos, you won't have that affect your solos matchmaking in any capacity, or shouldn't. That said, that was the main sort of change here with this update that, again, I think has a much larger implication of the gameplay experience. But before we get to the actual bug changes, the fixes here in that capacity, let's talk about two other things here. Number one, we did say that we have some content, the store update. The new Dweller set was introduced here, that comes with the outfit and various color options and items to toggle, a burn scar face style, and the Radio Mountaineer backpack with 4 different colors. Now that bundle is worth 1,700 Raider tokens unless an item is previously owned, like for me, it was the backpack. Personally, I never know where those come from of the already owned items, but it does go to a relatively steep discount if you own one of those items. Also, you may have noticed if you saw it pop up on screen here, try and hide them a little bit better here, but I have a handful of spare codes for 1,000 Raider tokens to give away. A bit more, again, hidden this time so that it's not necessarily prominently on display and that they're redeemed immediately, that hopefully it eliminates a bit of that first come, first serve basis that even if you see this maybe like a couple of hours after publication, there's a chance that one of these could still be up for grabs. But make sure you're checking the rest of the video and maybe going back a little bit to see a little bit where some of those could have been hidden. But anyways, the other thing to talk about was phantom targets. This was not listed in the patch notes really, or it was, but like it didn't specify in the patch notes what it was, but there's a new load screen here for the UI. This says phantom targets have been spotted on Shawnee's radar. Something is off. Now, obviously, we didn't get any content update or new archetype introduced here with this update, but it kind of seems like that's what will be the case. We're inching closer and closer to the October update, so it's not out of the realms of possibilities that this could be something that starts to tease some of that further content. But right now, your guess is as good as anyone's. Is it going to be a new project coming before October, perhaps in the next live update? That's a possibility. Could it be a new archetype in October? A phantom arc could be some kind of cloaked enemy that would coincide with what we've seen all the way back in the earlier portions of the year and that introduction of the hurricane event. You remember those UFO arcs that we're seeing? Maybe that could be related in some capacity, but that's just a guess. A personal favorite of mine that I found theorized on the subreddit was that these are a new archetype already live in the game, but it's not meant for you and I. Instead, it could be something for like cheaters. Those that see the phantom arc could have their account flagged as they're not supposed to be seeing that. They're ghosts or phantom items. I think that'd be pretty cool, but I kind of think that's a little less likely in the capacity of what this may end up becoming, but still something that is being teased here for the future. That said, outside of that, we did see some more minor changes in terms of the gameplay, bug fixes and other things like that. Audio, they improved footstep audio and water. They added a more distinct dodge roll sound and variations to that. They adjusted ambient auto for certain cinematics. Gameplay, they fixed inconsistencies with the secret grenade and the wolfpack grenade. So if you were feeling like you weren't doing as much damage here with this, you were not crazy. That was an actual issue that was happening in game. That was something that, for if you watched the Reddits at all, that was almost at least once a day you saw something that was on the sort of main page here for this of people talking about that. They made trinkets introduced with the converging paths now stackable, which is definitely nice, but I will say it's a little disappointing that these aren't stackable whenever this happens during the project and their lifespan, because it just eats up so much inventory space. And we've seen this happen now a couple of times where immediately after that project has concluded, that's when it's something that is made more quality of life focused and something that's easier to hold on to in your stash. Kind of wish that wasn't the case, but at least, hey, we can stack those types of things now. That's nice. We saw some fixes for cosmetics and some certain maps where there were different issues where getting out of bounds was something that you could see. Stability had a few adjustments here with this, and there were a handful of UI updates. Again, one of those being that new looping background video that was the phantom targets as mentioned, but another one that was kind of impactful was the new projects UI that is a more zoomed out look at what you have for all of your projects, and it will kind of highlight like it does in the workshop whenever you're going from each bench to each bench. But that said, that is the update here that we had as of today for Arc Raiders. Once again, this being not necessarily something that is a grand scale update or a major update like we saw in the first 4 months of the year, and also what we'll see in October. perhaps even being bigger than those earlier updates in the year. But this was finally an update in the last 3 weeks that we had that was actually worth mentioning, I think. The other stuff, again, just being shop updates, and unfortunately, we're going to be going back to what will be 2 more shop updates here in the near future before the next live update, again, likely on the 18th. But that said, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Before we do, a quick heads up, we have partnered with my friends over at Advanced GG. Again, as we've mentioned, a bit under the radar the last few months, but now going into the summer, ramping that up more and more. Advanced is the healthier energy supplement option where I use it daily as my comparable cup of coffee. Currently drinking that raspberry lemonade. Magic Rainbow Sherbet's also another one that's one of my favorites, but I'd highly recommend, and we actually co-branded that along with a few other items on their site, like a 26-ounce ice shaker. But love this stuff. If you're looking for a replacement for your own cup of coffee, give it a try. If you decide to give it a go, code espresso and get 10% off your entire order. But no sweat, appreciate you hearing me out on this, and of course, just checking in on the videos here that you made it this far. That's what we're gonna call it. So that said, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of this update? Do you like what we have so far? Do you like some of the changes made to matchmaking, some of the quality of life changes, perhaps the teaser of the phantom targets? Let me know your thoughts down below. But if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so a single thing running all things Arc Raiders and even more FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.